I got to wondering this past week if there might be something else I should be giving up for Lent. What if we gave up something different for Lent these last few weeks? Suppose the rest of this Lent we gave up division. Suppose we actively spent the rest of Lent going about letting go of those things that divide us. The hope most of us carry of racial unity has been marred by devastating divisions still. And as much as we had hoped for it, we just seem to not be able to let that division go. There are other divisions as well that trouble our social and our political attempts at unity. We are divided regionally. We are divided by gender. There are divisions between those of different sexual orientations. We suffer from economic and religious and ideological divisions everywhere. Would that we could put all of them together in one big box, all those divisions in one big box, and just let them go. What an accomplishment that would be. But we are not letting them go. Perhaps we don't want to. There would be too much, perhaps, for us to lose. Perhaps we don't know how. Perhaps the leadership is missing who could show us the way, like a Mandela or a Martin Luther King Jr. John's Gospel this morning gives us an account from Jesus' ministry that includes a story that models for us the bravest of efforts at letting go of several human divisions that had created deep social barriers in his day. First of all, he makes a journey from Judea to Galilee. He went out of his way to do this, because it would mean he would have to walk through an ethnic minefield that is Samaria. Jesus seems to really want to make this trip, to go this far out of his way. It almost was as if he needed to do this. He needed to do this to reveal God's inclusive love for all, God's attempt and God's desire to lead us away from this drive to divide. We all know the centuries-old hatred between Samaritans and Jews. It was ethnic, and it was religious. So this was a difference based in blood and in identity. This was a deep divide. And Jesus is walking head-on into all this hate. And what's more, there was another deep division in his day. It was the division between genders, a gender division. The division cutting through the heart between women and men. And so he takes his seat. He takes his seat beside some Samaritan well, and he waits. He waits as if he knew what he was looking for. And what he was looking for was being able to demonstrate another division falling. And so she comes, a Samaritan and a woman. And with her came one more division. The division between those who are sinners and those who consider themselves somehow above that sentence. And while everybody else avoided this sinner, this woman everybody else looked down on because of her sexual issues, He meets her. He meets her as one would meet a friend. He meets her. And with his presence to her out there in public, and with his welcoming conversation out there in public, and with this welcoming conversation, the walls come a-tumbling down on another ancient division. And Jesus walks head-on into this. And notice, he doesn't avoid the difficult conversations. He's honest about the differences between them. He walks head-on into those differences as well. She must have wondered why he was doing all this. He was a Jew and a man and a righteous man. She was a sinner and a woman and a Samaritan woman. His hated enemy and the antithesis of his life. The antithesis of his life. And notice one more thing, please, about his way of healing division. Not only does he lean into the difficult conversation, now he asks for her help. He asks for her help. He turns to her for help. Instead of looking down on her, he lets himself meet her. And by asking for her help, he, in a sense, really, truly lowered himself and raised her up. He made himself vulnerable to her. Vulnerable partly because she could say, "No, I'm not helping you." She had every right to say no. But he made himself vulnerable to her and so raised her up. Which is to say, he believed in her. He believed in her goodness and that she would help him. Jesus in this story is God's way of healing the world. Jesus is God's way of healing the world and showing us how we in turn can help God out by healing the world around us and in our day. God has no respect for the divisions we have created among ourselves. As a matter of fact, God hates the divisions that have cropped up among us anywhere. God hates the divisions between women and men. God hates the divisions between races and ethnicities. God hates the division between people of different sexual orientations. God hates the divisions between religions. God hates the divisions between the rich and the poor. God hates it. Absolutely hates it. And he wants it healed now by us. And note one more thing. Because he did this for her, a righteous person, a good person with this sinner, he enables something to happen here. He empowers something new. She could say to all those people in the town who went out of their way to shame her, she could say, "Screw this division between us, between me and the rest of you. Something just happened to me out here that I want you to know. I want you to meet this new thing that happened to me at this well. I want you to get what I just got, and I don't care how you've treated me, and I don't care how much I deserve to be treated like that." Do you see, in the process of crossing these divides, Jesus heals the divisions between this woman who was a sinner and the villagers who disdained her. She ran back to them now, no longer ashamed, never to be shamed again, and instead just wanting them to meet what she had met in this man. enough to invite them to this man who breaches divides, who builds bridges, and so creates the world that he wants to come on earth as it has in heaven. My friends, even diversity is not enough. We are getting so much better in this country, thanks be to God for the law. We are getting so much better at diversity. And when I look across the street, I see how remarkable has been the achievement of diversity at Washington University. But we have miles to go before we sleep when it comes to inclusiveness, when it comes to an inclusive love. We're still not including each other in our lives. And there's still too much self-segregation and too many divisions, even though diversity has been achieved. Again, this is no small achievement, and we should rejoice. We should rejoice when we see this happening. But we have a long way to go before diversity can ever yield inclusiveness. I really believe that for the rest of this Lent, in the name of this Jesus, we really can give up one more thing. We can give up divisions. And where we see division happening still, we can hear him say in his own words, "Go. Go and do likewise. As I have done, so you must do." As you've just seen me do, so you must do now.